Did you know that 80% of students will never pay off their student loan, and 49% of students say that they use their overdraft as a source of income? So are we just terrible with money? Well, yes, but actually no. I'll explain it in a second. Roll the intro. There's plenty of reasons that people might need to use their overdraft. They don't receive money from their parents, they live in an expensive area, etc. So it doesn't make you a bad student if you're bad with money. Because some students have to use their overdraft, but there is a case to be made that we are just a little bit terrible with money, because it's not like they taught us personal finance at school, is it? So if you're sick of eating pot noodles and seeing how much minus money you have today, then watch this video and give me a few minutes to try and help you escape the broke student life. I'm going to give you 5 bits of advice to improve how you are with money, and if you stick around to the end, I'll give a few very niche pieces of advice that applies purely to university students. The first thing you need to do is track your income and expenditure. I know that sounds very obvious, but 43% of students that were surveyed in that Lend Edu survey said that they do not track their expenses at all. So taking control of your finances has to start with tracking them. And there's a bunch of ways to do this. You can go old-fashioned like me and make an Excel spreadsheet. The advantage of this is it's very customizable, you can have it how you understand, and you have complete control of what it looks like. Alternatively, many banking apps have their own features for tracking your expenses. And if your bank doesn't have that feature, there's lots of good free apps like Yolt that do this for you. The disadvantage of using an Excel spreadsheet is that it takes a lot of time to update. I know students like to be lazy and save time, so instead you might want to use your banking app or another app like Yolt. These apps will allow you to track everything you spend and everything that comes in. You'll be able to put labels on all the expenditure and income, so you know exactly how much you're spending in each area and exactly when and where your money is coming from. This is a really helpful feature to get you started with tracking your personal finance. You might think it seems a little bit trivial, or that you kind of already know exactly what you spend and what you get without tracking it in a spreadsheet. But when I looked back at the money that I'd spent before I started tracking my expenses, I was amazed by just how much I'd overspent in certain areas. You really don't realise just how many times you buy drinks when you're out, or just how many times you get takeaways, and that's why tracking your expenses as a student is essential. Another advantage of this is it allows you to track exactly when your money is coming in, because a lot of people think, well, this is my student loan, I'll divide it by 12, and this is my budget each month. But it doesn't quite work like that, because quite often you can get caught out with, you think you've got the money for that month, but you haven't yet got the student loan, and you overspend, and you've got a bill and you can't pay it. So you want to know exactly when the money's coming in, and how much money you have until that point. So not just roughly how much money you have per month, but exactly when that money is coming in, and exactly when the bills are going out. This will stop you using your overdraft. I think it's one of the most essential things to help students with their personal finance. Never use the overdraft unless you really have to. Personally, I don't even have an overdraft, and this forces me to be very careful about how I spend. So, once you're able to track all the money coming in and all the money going out, it's time to move on to a budget. Having a budget is truly essential. When you create your budget, I'd start very liberal and then become more conservative. That's definitely not political commentary, by the way. But if you start more liberal, then you're not going to end up punishing yourself and giving yourself something that's just too unrealistic. Because if you say, I'm going to save all this money, I'm only going to spend this tiny amount on going out, on eating out, all these kind of things, then you soon find yourself just overspending a little bit, and you're like, I've broken the budget, why even bother? If you start really liberal, then it'll be quite easy to follow at first. Then each month you can do just a little bit better, just try and save a bit more each month. And suddenly you start to enjoy it a little bit. It becomes like a game. Can I save more than I saved last month? Can I spend less this month? So start with a big budget and make it smaller and smaller each month until you get to somewhere that you're happy with, something where you're like, I'm saving enough money, I'm not spending too much, but if I spend any less than this, I'm not going to have fun in my life, and it's still important to have fun. When creating your budget, you can do it with Excel like I do, or you can use these apps that I mentioned before. And these apps often will allow you to automatically track what you're spending in each category, and it has your budget. So say you go on a few nights out, well, nobody's going nights out at the moment, but when you do go on nights out eventually, hopefully, say you go on a few too many, it will tell you spent too much going out. So this is a really helpful feature. Or just do the same thing in an Excel spreadsheet, just update it every single week, and if you notice you're overspending on something, then cut back. Having a budget will also just make you think creatively about how you can save more money. Suddenly you won't just go for the easiest option, you'll go for the cheapest, most efficient option. So once you've got a budget that you're happy with, we can move on to the next category, which is saving money. Another point raised by the Lend Edu survey was that 58% of students do not save any money at all. And I understand that saving for many students seems impossible. Where can we even find the extra money to save? Well, if you follow the budget and information in step 2, then you should start to have some money left over at the end of each month. And you can start saving this money. But you don't want to just put it all into one general savings account and say, well, I'm saving for the future, because it's too tempting to spend that because it's not clearly defined. So instead, what you want to do is define exactly why you're saving and give yourself goals to work towards. This will help promote you to save more and save for longer and reduce the temptation to spend any of the money that you do save. If you dive into my banking app, you can see that I've done this. I've got a travel fund which has got about £1,500 in it, so that I can hopefully go away for my 21st birthday, if in the current situation that becomes possible. And I also have money put away in a car fund, which I plan on saving towards for the next couple of years, so I'm going to upgrade my car because it's something that I really want. So if you have these categories that save towards something with an actual purpose that you really do want, things that are important to you, then you'll find it much easier to save and you will not be as tempted to spend the money that you've saved. Whilst I was at university, I also put away the money for rent and bills as soon as I got my student loan. I put it in the savings pot away from my general account so that I would not touch it and it was put away, so I definitely had the money to pay for rent and bills no matter what. I also have an emergency fund which I'll discuss more later. Some other good things you can put your money towards is things like a house deposit, maybe saving for a gap year if you're a college student, or even a gap year for after you finish university, or save money for starting a business or starting a side hustle project. Putting your savings into perspective like this really does help you save. You can set up automatic transfers, you can have a target date to reach certain categories, and it turns it into a bit of a game. You want to keep putting money away so you can get your goals. It stops it being this arbitrary thing of, yes, I'll save money, that's helpful. Now you know exactly why you're saving, or when you're saving for, and what you're saving for. So now you're tracking the flow of money in and out of your bank, you're controlling your spending with a budget, and you're doing what you can to save towards your goals. You've now done all that you can with the money that you have, which means you now need to make more money. And I fully intend to do a video on every single possible side hustle a student can do, so subscribe to the channel and stick around for that. There really are so many ways that a student can make an extra cash, and I'll definitely go into all of them at some point. Well, all the legal ones. I don't recommend you become a dealer. Although I guess you don't need to worry about expenses in prison. Back to the point. I'm going to give you a few quick pointers on how students can start to make just a little bit more money whilst at university. The most obvious way is to get a part-time job. Yes, this makes it hard to balance uni work, your actual job, and a social life, but it is possible. And when you're busy making money, you're also busy not spending money, so that actually helps you save as well. And it also gives you that experience to help you apply for jobs after university. Get a job in a bar, in a cafe, just something to get you a bit of extra income. But there are other ways to increase your income whilst being a student if things like working in a bar really put you off. I mean, what if you get the order wrong or you drop a glass? So if you're like me and you don't want to do something like that, there's plenty of other ways to make money as a student. One way you can do this is to have an online side hustle. There are so many ways to do this. Whether you just want to earn an extra £10 a day doing surveys or match betting, or whether you want to do something that's a little bit more serious that you can scale over time. Things like drop shipping, drop servicing, which is a whole thing I'll go into sometime, affiliate marketing, YouTube, social media management, blogging. There are so many different ways to build an online business that you can do whilst doing your studies. These things will take you all the way from a few extra quid a day to making so much money that you wonder why you went to university in the first place. Just kind of what happened to me. I'm currently doing a year out of university where I'm focusing on my business, because something that was a bit of a side hustle last year, or the end of last year, the start of this year, has now turned it into my full-time income because of all the extra time I've had because of what's been going on in the world. So it really is worth doing a side hustle, because now I'm making more than I'd be expected to with my international relations degree at the University of Durham. So why not try a side hustle? It might just get you a little bit of extra money, but if you really work hard on it, it might make you so much money that you don't even need your degree in the first place. Finally, see if you're eligible for any grants. Obviously not everybody is, but I strongly recommend just checking, because I was eligible for a £1,000 grant in my first year from Durham. This was a bursary because they perceived me as coming from a low-income family. Now I feel quite lucky, and I wouldn't have expected to have received one, because to the standards of many people, I live a very good life. But according to Durham University, and probably anyone who's not from my area, I was actually from a low-income family. So you really would be surprised at what you can find if you just look at any grants, bursaries, scholarships, see just any way you can be given any extra income. Now that you have more money, I recommend trying to approach this from a financial minimalist perspective. It's not an excuse to increase your budget. You're at a time in your life where you just need to save, and also invest. Investments take time. As long as we're not unlucky, we're at an age where we have a lot of time ahead of us. So our investments that we make now can benefit us all the way to 40, 50 years time. Many of you will have a similar ideology to what I had. Why spend all this time when you're young saving and investing when you're going to get old and you won't even be able to enjoy your money as much? And I definitely empathise with that mindset. So if you do have that mindset, just increase your budget a little bit. Spend on things that are really important to you. Think, is this really going to benefit me in the long run or not? You still should save and still should invest, because the likelihood is you are going to live a long time. So you need to prepare for the future. But unlike other personal finance channels, I don't say have no fun at all and just invest. You need to find the right balance for you. Investing is scary, and us students don't seem to know much about it. I can't say that I know a huge ton about it. I'm definitely not Warren Buffett, that's for sure. But I have spent the last few years learning about it and the last year doing it. For students who don't want to spend loads of time learning like I did, you can just do something really simple. For example, Moneybox provides free ISAs where they'll automatically take money out of your bank account and put it towards your investment portfolio and then make the investments for you. You can choose from 3 settings: safe, safe-ish, or not so safe. The more risk you take, the more reward you can get, but obviously the more risk you take, the more risk you have of losing money. So it's definitely a great option, and even during everything going on this year, I'm on the most aggressive mode for Moneybox. I only lost like 2% during the very, very worst part, and obviously this money eventually came back and went into the green. It also has really handy features like the roundup feature. So for example, if you go into Costa and you buy a coffee for £1.70, it will automatically round up to £2 and invest that 30p difference. So this way you don't really feel like you're putting away loads of money, but over time it really adds up. So it's actually a way of turning your spending into an investing. So recently I actually sold out of my Moneybox ISA because I wanted to take on a more hands-on approach. If you too want to take a hands-on approach to investing and pick your own stocks, then I recommend using Freetrade. Freetrade is a stockbroker that I use, and if you apply saying free stock, then I'll send you a one-time use code which will get you a free stock worth up to £200 on Freetrade. Now this is one use only, so you'll have to comment to get it. But if you're not from the United Kingdom, or you are from the United Kingdom but don't want to wait for a reply from me, then there's also Trading 212, which works all over Europe, and you can use a link in the description to get a free stock. It's the same amount, I think, up to £200 if you're lucky. And you only have to deposit £1 on both of these platforms, or €1 for Trading 212 if you're not from the UK, and you'll be able to get a free stock. So I really hope you get started, but I don't recommend picking your own stocks until you've spent a lot of time learning. Just a little disclaimer that I actually invest in Freetrade itself, so I do have a conflict of interest there, but I do actually recommend it is a good broker that I use myself too. If you are feeling more adventurous, then you can look into investing into the stock market yourself. If you subscribe, I'll be making videos on the best investing books, comparisons to different strategies, and other fun investing things. You might even invest into cryptocurrency, but be warned, if you don't know the technology, it can be quite confusing, and also it's very volatile, so only invest in cryptocurrency if you understand it and you still want to invest. But if you are interested in cryptocurrency, then in the description below is a link to Coinbase. Now Coinbase is doing a promotion where if you watch some very short videos about different cryptocurrencies, they'll actually give you a free cryptocurrency in exchange. They only take a few minutes each, and right now I think you can make up to about £100 from it, but these offers expire very fast, so check it out in the description and try it out. Finally, you should consider real estate as part of your long-term investment plan. Now, obviously students aren't going to be buying houses, but You want to think about it in the long term and start to prepare for it. I did this by starting a Help to Buy ISA, which thanks to the government is no longer available, but it will give me up to 25% on up to £10,000 deposit on my first house. So you want to think to the future, maybe start putting towards some savings towards your first deposit. For example, I want to buy a house and then rent out some of the rooms so I can basically live mortgage free. Although I might not do that, I might just become a digital nomad and live all over the world. But regardless, you want to think for the long term and start planning what you might do when you have more money to invest. But before you do invest, you might want to think about making an emergency fund. In fact, definitely think about making an emergency fund. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but a good strategy for having an emergency fund is to have an emergency fund that will pay for 6 months of your current bills. Now, I know this can be a lot for students, so if you really can't put the money towards that, then try saving about £1,000, £2,000 instead over the next few years, just so you can pay for any emergency bills that might come up, and you're not just going to be left having to get a loan or having to go into your overdraft just to save yourself from an emergency situation. So that's about it for investing, but if you do want to learn how to invest in stocks properly, then I'd recommend going to the description and checking out the link to my Amazon book recommendations, particularly The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. This is really the Bible to value investing, or a safe investing strategy that still gives nice returns. It will stop you thinking, what do I invest in? Who should I go to learn what to invest in? Because you'll actually learn how to make your own strategy and invest yourself. It is quite heavy, so there's lots of other books in there, some related to investing and some related to personal finance and some related to other things, but I recommend checking out the description, checking out some of those books. It would definitely help you with personal finance and just life in general. Okay, so as promised, after all that heavy information, here's some niche advice from my fellow university students. My first piece of bonus advice is pre-drink. Nope, I'm not one of those personal finance channels that says never drink, it's the worst financial decision you can ever do. Of course, it's not. As long as you have balance, as long as you do it in moderation, you can have fun in life, always. But when we can start going back into clubs and bars, then try thinking about pre-drinking instead of buying super expensive bar and club drinks. And this is also just a disclaimer, do not go into all my videos, you get kicked out for this, but you can also try bringing a hip flask. It's a great way to save money. As you can tell from this piece of advice, I originally started writing a script for this video a long time ago, because we can't even go clubbing now, but it's worth keeping in mind just so when it is possible. My second piece of bonus advice is learn to cook, even if it's just 5 to 10 really simple cheap meals. This will save you so much money. And also, if you can, go shopping in Lidl, Aldi, even the bargain shops. I really do love going to bargain shop and, getting bargains, because if you do that, you can actually get your weekly spend down to about £25 a week on groceries, even if you have 3 healthy meals a day and some snacks. So you really can save so much money if you just learn to cook and learn to go to the cheapest possible places to get the stuff you need. Also, on the topic of cooking, if you've got freezer space, then a good way to save money is to make bulk meals and freeze them. This will allow you to make your meals much, much cheaper. And also, if you're lazy like me, so you can really quickly just get it out, put it in the microwave, boom, done. Call me Gordon. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helps you become more financially responsible in the future and helps any students that might have been confused about how to manage their money. If any of you are already subscribed to me, you'll notice this is my first video on personal finance, and I'm going to be making a lot more videos on personal finance and just anything else that helps better people's lives really. So please leave a subscription, leave a like, leave a comment, just stick around. I'll have way more good content for you guys. Thank you and have an amazing day. Goodbye.